I had been working at the company for 6 years. 6 long, loyal years. When I first got hired, I was fresh out of college, bright-eyed and ready to prove myself in the corporate world. I took the entry-level job because I knew I'd work my way up. That's what everyone said. Right? Work hard, stay late, and keep your head down. And soon enough, you'll be moving up the ladder. Well, that's what I did. I worked hard. I worked harder than anyone else on my team. That's for damn sure. I stayed late, skipped lunches, missed holidays with my family, anything to show them that I was the one who was serious. When the office was dark and quiet, I was still there, finishing up the last of the reports or making sure that the next day's meetings were all in order. I sacrificed a lot for this job. My personal life was practically non-existent. My friends had stopped inviting me to things a couple of years ago. And dating. That was a joke. Who had time for it when I was here? Doing everything I could to prove myself. I had been passed up for promotions before. And each time it hurt a little bit more. But I told myself that my time would come. Be patient. I kept repeating in my head like a mantra. They'll see how valuable you are. Just wait. And wait I did. When the senior project manager retired last year, I knew that was my moment. I had been doing the job anyway, filling in for her while she transitioned out. So it only made sense. They wouldn't look anywhere else. They'd just make it official. Right? So, when the job opened up, I applied, feeling certain that this time would be different. My resume practically wrote itself. Every major project we had tackled in the last 3 years had my name on it. Every late-night decision or crisis, I had been the one to solve it. My team respected me. The clients loved me. Even the higher-ups gave me a nod whenever I crossed their path. It was only a matter of time. Except it wasn't. A few weeks after I submitted my application, I got the news. The job had been filled. By someone new. Someone I had never even seen in the building before. Are you kidding me? I practically growled at the email on my screen. I must have read it 10 times before it sank in. The company had hired someone from the outside. They didn't even give me an interview. I felt sick. How could this happen? After everything I had done. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it. But no matter how I turned it around, it felt like a slap in the face. I tried to stay calm, but it was like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. And all the years of loyalty I had poured into this place suddenly felt like a joke. I thought about all the nights I worked late, all the holidays I missed, and the sacrifices I made. What was it all for? I marched down the hall to my boss's office. The door was closed. But I didn't care. I knocked once, sharply, and pushed it open before he even had a chance to answer. "Do you have a minute?" I asked, though it was clear from my tone that I wasn't asking. He looked up from his desk, surprised, but gestured for me to sit. Of course. What's going on? I didn't sit. I stood there, heart pounding in my chest, trying to keep my voice steady. I just got the email about the new hire for the senior project manager position. My boss nodded, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes that told me he knew what was coming next. I swallowed hard. I thought I would at least get an interview. I've been here for 6 years. And I've basically been doing the job already. I don't understand why I wasn't even considered. He sighed, leaning back in his chair. Listen, I understand you're disappointed. Disappointed. That's an understatement. I cut him off, not caring if I sounded harsh. I've been working my ass off for this company. I've done everything you've asked. And then some. And when the time comes for promotion, I'm completely overlooked. I've given this place everything. What more could I have done? He gave me that look. The one bosses give when they're about to deliver a line that they think is supposed to make everything better, but only makes it worse. We value your contribution. Truly. But we felt that for this position, we needed someone with fresh ideas. Someone with a different perspective. It wasn't personal. Not personal. I laughed. But it was bitter. How is this not personal? I've dedicated 6 years of my life to this place. And you bring in someone from the outside, without even giving me a chance. That feels pretty personal. He didn't have an answer to that. He just sat there, looking at me with that same detached expression. Like I was an inconvenience. I walked out of his office without saying another word. There was nothing left to say. I couldn't fight it. The decision had already been made. And I was just supposed to accept it. But I couldn't. Not this time. I went back to my desk. But I couldn't focus. The whole office felt different now. It wasn't just a job anymore, it was a betrayal. I looked around at the people I had worked with for years, wondering if they knew. Wondering if they had heard the whispers about the new hire. About how I wasn't good enough for the role I had been doing all along. The new person started a week later. Her name was Amanda. She was young. Maybe a few years younger than me. And she had the kind of polished confidence that screamed Ivy League. The kind of person who walked into a room and expected everyone to stop and pay attention. And they did. The first time I met her, I tried to be polite. I shook her hand, introduced myself, and smiled. Even though it felt forced. She smiled back. And it wasn't her fault. I guess. But everything about her irritated me. It was like she was this walking reminder that no matter how hard I worked, someone could just waltz in and take what I had been fighting for. In meetings, she took charge, giving suggestions and feedback like she'd been with the company for years. Meanwhile, I sat there, trying not to grind my teeth as everyone nodded along, acting like she was some kind of genius. It didn't matter that half of what she said was stuff I had already proposed months ago. But when it came from her, suddenly it was revolutionary. The resentment started building inside me like a knot in my stomach that I couldn't untangle. Every day, I walked into the office feeling like a shadow of the person I used to be. The person who believed in hard work, loyalty, and the idea that if you just stuck with it long enough, you'd be rewarded. That person was gone. Replaced by someone who couldn't stand to be there anymore. I thought about quitting. But where would I go? I'd invested too much time into this company. If I left now, it would feel like admitting defeat. Like all those years had been for nothing. So I stayed. Day after day. I stayed. Watching Amanda settle into the role that should have been mine. Watching her get praised for ideas that I had been pushing for years. Watching her succeed where I had been overlooked. One night, as I sat at my desk long after everyone else had gone home, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the computer screen. My eyes were tired. And there were lines on my face that hadn't been there before. When had I become this person? Someone who was willing to sacrifice everything for a job that clearly didn't care about me. It hit me then. Like a weight pressing down on my chest. I wasn't going to get what I wanted here. No matter how hard I worked. no matter how long I stayed. It wasn't going to happen. They didn't see me as someone worth promoting. I was just the reliable worker bee. The one who got things done, but didn't rock the boat. And I hated it. I shut down my computer, grabbed my bag, and walked out of the office. As I stepped outside into the cool night air, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life waiting for someone else to decide that I was worth it. I was done being loyal to a place that didn't value me. I didn't know what was next. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally making a choice for myself. I was done waiting. It was time to start living. In the weeks that followed, I handed in my resignation and walked away from the company that had taken so much from me. It wasn't easy. And the uncertainty of the future was terrifying. But the weight I had been carrying for years started to lift. For the first time, I wasn't just existing in a job that didn't appreciate me. I was free to find something that did. As I closed that chapter of my life, I realized that loyalty shouldn't be given blindly. I deserved better. And from now on, I'd make sure to demand it.